Hello and welcome everyone to the third part of our summer trilogy called Startup Sharks. We are happy to have you with us and we wish you bon appetit if you're having lunch in New York or if you're having just wine and are vacationing in Slovakia. So we're happy to be in touch with our New York Pro community this way during the summer. And we continue a tradition of introducing to you smart and successful Slovak entrepreneurs. Their companies grew too big to fit into a startup box, but what they have in common is that they were founded in Slovakia and have a connection to the US. You can join us via a YouTube link that is posted in the Eventbrite or via slido.com/SlovakSharks, where you can ask questions and watch us live. So today, my dear guest is Matej Ftáčnik from Vacuum Labs. And same as always, I'll be joined by our ambassador in US, Radovan Javorčík, in this fireside chat. So welcome to both gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, welcome. So do we have both the ambassador and Matej with us? For some reason, I can't see you. Oh, yeah, I can see you, of course. So, Mr. Ambassador, I would love to give you the words at the beginning because we are finding us on a call for a very happy reason, but the circumstances that we all are witnessing lately around Afghanistan are anything but happy. So I think this is very concerning for everyone. If you could maybe share some words. And you are on mute. Sorry. Now.
Thank you very much for this reminder. It's really a very special day for many of us. You see, 20 years ago, I was not in DC. I was posted in Brussels. I was at NATO, still not member of NATO. But I remember a happy summer, which was not so hot as now. After a return from summer holidays of everyone, my office was just opposite and through across the parking lot of the American mission. And one day I've seen was roughly 3 o'clock or half past 2. I've seen many Americans leaving, and I was like, well, something is happening because usually they leave around 6, half past 6. And then somebody came into our offices and said that the twins are gone. So it was a huge moment for everyone, and it was very emotional. And when I was traveling back to DC yesterday, I was on a Vienna airport, and I've seen the moments and the pictures from Kabul airport. It was sort of heartbreaking because we have seen the end of a long journey of international presence in Afghanistan, as we know it as we knew it for 20 years. And we knew that the military presence, as it started 20 years ago, after the fall of twins and attacks on Pentagon and the fall of Flight 93 in Pennsylvania, that it has to change, and it can drag for years. But to see all these moments, the return of Taliban to power and control of Afghanistan was a stark reminder how important are the values and the opportunities which are created by reasonable, transparent, and accountable government. And these are attributes, and I'm not talking about liberalism or conservatism. I'm talking about creating opportunities for everyone, including women and girls. And Minister Korczak was right now on a press conference, and he was also very emotional when he was talking about all the aid that we tried to give to women and girls in Afghanistan to just make their lives more to our liking, to be a little bit more free, to speak up, to be able to walk freely on the streets without ever-present male guards and a company of men. So for me, it was really emotional. It was I could have seen all those 4,000 Slovak soldiers who served in Afghanistan. I could see one of my very good friends and colleagues, a lady colleague. She's now in Bratislava serving for my minister in his office, who was for several months in one of the remote provinces of Afghanistan, helping local people to have the basic services, the water wells, electricity, basic electricity, hospitals, schools. And she was there as a female, as a woman, trying to empower local Afghani women to have a more free life. And why I'm saying this, it reminds me also the Sharks, the Slovak Sharks, the Slovak pros, and everything what we are doing to promote new spirits, new ideas, new possibilities for us. It's about accountability. It's about making lives possible for everyone. So I wanted to make this small statement, this my emotional statement of what's happening in Kabul, so we don't forget why we were and will be in some sort of a presence in Afghanistan, to not enable those horrific scenes of 2001 in US, 2005 in London, then in Madrid and in Moscow as well, and in many other places. So we have to fight for our freedoms and for people like the Slovak Sharks to promote their ideas and to make their dreams reality. So with this lengthy introduction, Kika, back to you.
Kika, now you're on mute. Yeah.
See, this happens every time. So no, thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for these words. And I believe the twins were something that everybody remembers where they were when they found out. So one of those heartbreaking moments. We definitely don't want to see anything like that. It's going to be exactly 20 years this September. Thank you. So with this, let me try to bring up a happier spirit. And I'll start with you, Matej. I would love to introduce you. I already introduced you as the CEO of a company that actually doubles almost every year. You have received as well a beautiful award from Ernst & Young as the Entrepreneur of the Year. And you're one of the co-founders and has been the CXO, which is my favorite role in every company. And now you have been promoted to the CEO. So what makes Vacuum Labs so special and successful? Tell us.
If only I would know. Curious. Before I start, I want to thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for those words, and Kika for inviting me for this event. Unfortunately, we're in this, in the atmosphere where we are right now. But let's make the best of it, and let's focus on the positives and the upsides of what we can do if we stick together and try to build things the proper way. So. Just a short background of Vacuum Labs. You said correctly. We've doubled every year, and that's what we also try to do going forward. Even though it's always harder and harder, as we're right now with 350 people as we speak this month. We're growing by 25 to 30 people every single month. The company has been this is year 10 of building the business. For 9 years, I've been managing and running sales and marketing and essentially trying to do business internationally. I've been known to be found more on airplanes and airports rather than in Slovakia. And in the last year, the pandemic happened, so I was grounded, which was a blessing, right? And also a curse, right? So it was fantastic to completely change my lifestyle and to completely change the way I've been approaching business. And suddenly, everybody figured out we can actually do business internationally through Zoom. There's no need for me to sit on a plane, 3 days a week, and that was really, really good. And also, it changed some of my internal motivation of where I want to be as a person and what I want to do. And I then transitioned from sales into more of the management role, and have been doing the CEO position, or I've been within the CEO position in the last 4 months. the secret sauce, I'm not sure if there's any. There's the things that, always try to improve every day a little bit. So we always like to say there's no Hail Mary, but there's 1,000 little improvements along the way. And we try to say that we're true to our values, which are very, I've been happy enough and blessed enough to grow up in the States. So when I was 2 years old, it was 1990. My parents moved to the States, to Chicago, then to Iowa. They're physicists. They worked at the university. I spent the first 10 years of my life. It was great. And the next 10 years I've spent in Slovakia. So I'm not Slovak, I'm not American. I'm somewhere in between. And I'm trying to combine the both worlds into having the American can-do attitude of let's go big, let's build something that matters, let's do it a proper way on a global mindset, but also let's be respectful to the local environment and to the region that we come from, as in Slovakia and Czech Republic, and do it that way. And I think this combination of speaking both languages, if you do, and understanding the two mindsets helped us to differentiate a bit and create things this way. But I'm not going to be quiet and let you ask more questions. Yeah.
We don't want you to be quiet, but definitely this gives a different perspective as well, that you understand both mindsets, which are close but different. So that definitely must be a good help to your team. Mr. Ambassador, with someone like Matej, how can embassy, or specifically the general consulate, we just received our new consul. He just landed. We miss Latika Beget, our previous consul. I think she started the work on the new building that we will have in New York soon. Is that a place where someone like Matej and his company can find a way to cooperate in US more?
Great question. Yes, so the new Consul General, Milan Verbovsky, arrived 2 weeks ago to New York. He's settling in. He is getting acquainted with the new premises, which I call for myself to visualize it. Because if you say Consulate General, it has to be a splendid house with all security and other things. And I called it for myself the Slovak house. And suddenly it became some sort of a household name, and everybody's asking me, when are you going to open the Slovak house? So I said, okay, that's my term for the new building. I have to say that I've been to those new premises. They need some refurbishment and some small touches. So Milan Verbovsky, the new consul, he will be making those changes. But this is exactly the spot where people will be able, and I hope they will be able to come and have a sort of a safe haven for a few days, weeks, you name it, just to have a place where they can sit, work, where they can collaborate with some other people coming from other departments of life, and with some other backgrounds. And to have like a springboard for the American market, and not only for that one. So that's my idea, which is also shared by many other colleagues, and Milan Verbovsky as well. I cannot promise you when the building will be open, but I can assure you that the whole crew in New York is working 24/7 to open it as soon as possible. Now, I can unveil a small secret that the annual General Assembly of United Nations will go on this year in a more or less normal setup, or more personal setup, physical. And the rumor has it from Bratislava that we may have Madam President coming to New York, and I hope that her program will allow her and Minister Korčok as well to meet with groups like Slovak Pros, and to have engagement with Slovaks living in US. So this sort of Slovak house and the mentality of Slovak house, networking, putting together people with different ideas and backgrounds to populate each other with experience, That's exactly why we are here at the embassy and consulate general, and that's why, for example, we are targeting a new honorary consuls around the U.S. To be persons not only with a strong and long connections with Slovakia, but who have this feeling for new ideas, how to promote them. But Kika, if I may just be a sort of a partner to you in questioning Matej, because this is extremely interesting story of a person who has a dual identity, US and Slovak or Central European. But for me, one of the interesting questions might be, because I went to Iowa once, and it's a flat land with a corn and Cedar Rapids with a splendid Czechoslovak museum and library, which is absolutely wonderful. By the way, there will be opening a exhibition, Slovak Treasures, in September. So I promote this for everybody to watch it and to visit it. But how do you reconcile, and from where you take more, like a drive or a source of energy, the personal motivation to pursue your ideas? Is it this free spirit of Iowa with a wide space, or is it more like a contest between people of Central Europe, where you have these small family fightings among each other?
Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for the question. And that's a good one, right? That's where does the inner motivation comes from? The Brits would use the words or phrase, the chip on the shoulder. Where does it come from? And I have to say that, probably if you've lived many years in one place in your childhood and then in Slovakia, it's a bit of an identity crisis. Who you are, who you stand for, what are your values, where you come from. To me, it's also included with also the personal identity of being LGBT, and that's especially in a non-welcoming space like Slovakia, or not that welcoming space. So my chip on the shoulder is definitely making sure and trying to show to the world that there's something that can be achieved, that can be done, and not only as a gay man, but also as a person from Eastern Europe, as they would say, and a person that grew up in different spaces. So it's definitely part of that. But the other part, which I believe is more exciting, is the need, or the I grew up in the 90s with Clinton, right? Everything was nice and dandy, everything, the beautiful 90s. So I have the spirit of, we can actually build, we can do it, we can make it happen. And then I moved to the early 2000s in Slovakia, which was very similar on, okay, we made it to the EU, we made it there. And the attitude of we're building something, we're creating something from nothing, and we are putting it out there for the world to use and to build that's my strong motto. That I typically like to say that if you're the only one that you can, then you have to. And I think that applies to a lot of Slovaks, that there is not a lot of us that are capable. And if you are somewhat capable to do stuff, you should definitely do that anywhere you are.
Thank you, Matej. That makes absolutely sense. I think I can speak for a lot of our partners in the community of Slovak professionals in New York, but as well as someone who went to Austrian school since young age. It makes you be confronted with being Slovak every day, because that's part of one of the first questions that everybody asks you. So I'm not sure I had an identity crisis, but I had to realize my identity every single time. So it's very good point. So I would maybe bring this to a statement that if you have had the opportunity being in US and are actually having a very successful business that is having as well deals in US, why did you choose to stay in Slovakia? Especially maybe as someone where you can say, as an LGBT person, you would have it maybe easier in a New York. I don't know if it's true anymore. We're living in a weird times.
New times. I like to say that the more I travel the world, the more I love Slovakia. and it's like from Tolkien's, Lord of the Rings, where the small hobbit place, right? It's not too big, it's not too small, it's not too wet, it's not too dry, it's not too rich, not too poor. It's just right, and it's a beautiful little country with a lot of great things, and you just need to tweak it a little bit in order to actually make it beautiful and great. So that's one part of it. The other part is families here and personal connections. And I played with the idea, and I spent a couple of years of my working life, professional life in the States, and that was fine. But being the bridge between not being the one Slovak in New York, but rather being the person with the connections to New York or to the States or to San Francisco, rather, makes a lot of sense, right? So I used my network from high school, from university in the region to start the small team, and then my connections to the States to actually build out the business. And I was also, I'm sorry to say, but the quality of life is higher in Bratislava than in New York, right? So the amount that it's a nicer, healthier, happier, and safer place to be in. So we're at that moment that people are relocating. I have my head of America. He's moving to Bratislava because he likes it here too much. So now we're looking for a new MD in the States because he just fell in love in Slovakia, and that's my second MD that it happened to. So it's Slovakia or Bratislava is a good place to live in. Yeah.
It's actually an interesting point. I think sometimes people who live in Slovakia assume everything is better in US and everything is better in the big wild world. So
they
don't know how good they have it. Yeah.
Exactly.
If I may jump in, because this is extremely important, and Kika, you just hit it. We have this sort of mentality of a small hobbit town. That's everything is better outside than inside. And I really appreciate, and it looks like everybody loves Slovakia so much that they are moving in. Including some of the bureaucrats around from Europe, and we have NGOs coming to Slovakia doing business. The NGO, I call it the NGO business, although NGO should not be a business, from Bratislava and expanding through the region, which shows that Slovakia is really moving ahead. But Matej, with you always, it seems to me, you always managed to find a niche, a speciality to excel in something. But I'm sure that even in the US, when you were starting your business and your activities, you were finding some breaks, some hindrances, some difficulties, obstacles from bureaucracy. What were the biggest obstacles when you were starting your business in the US, in Slovakia, just to have a comparison, because many people may say that everything is easy in the US.
The interesting part is that when we started our business, we founded the business in Slovakia. So we had a Slovak entity. We did it from Slovakia, which is not great, not terrible. It is what it is. There's a lot of bureaucracy that's connected to that, a lot of paperwork, a lot of old school stuff that you need to go through, but it's manageable. And we've been lucky enough that in the first couple of years of the business, our American counterparts have been receptive to invoice and to work with a Slovak entity. So there wasn't really a need to found a US company. But last year, when we created our spinoff, where essentially we've created a new business, which is called Daylight, which is the first LGBT digital bank in the United States, which have been successfully funded by Citibank and a number of VCs from Silicon Valley, but by more than $5 million. When we started this journey last year, I was amazed by the differences between founding a company in the US and in Slovakia, and especially in Delaware, and how it's easy, it's kind of straightforward, the paperwork there, but then the tax filings and then the visas for the investors and for the founders and doing all of that, it's a bit of a nightmare. But it's been very complicated. It's extremely expensive on lawyers and all the fees, but we managed to get through that. I don't think that 10 years ago when we started a company, I would be able to afford it, nor to go and navigate it at the very beginning. So it's good that it happened, 10 years into the journey of the company to do this, because it is complex. It is complicated, especially from somebody coming from outside of US. Even though with close connections, even easy things like employment, right? The fact that you need to choose the healthcare provider and service for your employees, which for me still I can't mentally reconcile. How can I, deny the full coverage for everybody? But then I see the economic realities of it's extremely expensive, and it's just the moral things that you need to think in the States compared to in Europe. It's a completely different environment. So having that mindset of actually being educated a bit more, holding hands of, what this is what needs to happen when you're kind of starting a company in the States would be extremely helpful. Yeah.
I think these are good points, and as you say, some of it is what you stumble over only when you're facing it.
Yeah.
And maybe something that we stumbled over on our last call with Michal Korman and the Touch for IT team was that our ambassador threw a glove. I'm not sure if this translates actually well into English, but it was a suggestion to gather a couple of startups that are trying to enter the US market and put us around the table and come up with things that were hard and we could maybe actually really focus on helping, rather than maybe people who have ways to help assume something else is an issue and try to help through on things that are not that painful. So long story short, I'm trying, Matej, to get you hooked. So, would you join such table?
I'm very happy to absolutely to help and to support. So happy to give my 5 cents and give my 5 cents on the topic. I can maybe compare with when we founded a company 2 years ago in Hong Kong, our subsidiary, which actually was a real breeze. It was super easy. It was nice. They helped us so much. And it was like literally in 10 days we're done and everything was done and dusted. So there are definitely differences that how government can handle that or as the advising body in opening subsidiaries in different parts of the world. Yeah.
Sounds great. And Mr. Ambassador, would you like to share more on that glove?
Yeah, absolutely. The glove or the challenge I raised was meant to turn the tables a little bit, because most of the time we, the bureaucrats or the representatives of state, are peppered by questions. How can we help the entrepreneurs or anybody, and what we can do? But the most important part for me is understanding how the private sector, how it evolves, how it works. When I was in Israel or in London, that was a different decade. It was 2005 until 2011 or 14 in Israel. It was different mindset of people, and there were different approaches to make business and to start business. So I would just wanted to turn the whole question around and pose the questions: what is your expectation of the private sector to enable you to make your dreams reality? Of course, when we are talking about Afghanistan and Afghani ladies and the girls and women, the very basic thing is to let them have an education. When we are starting business in the US, it's perhaps more about knowing the legal environment, how you can navigate, should navigate in digital administration. And I'm happy that Slovakia is improving the digital skills of the administration to help the startup companies and companies, private sector to work. And it is totally different when you want to establish yourself on Chinese market, or if you want to establish yourself on French. It's easy to get established your company in some markets, and then to close the shop, it's a nightmare. And I'm not implicating that China or France is a nightmare to close the shop, But that's the fact. So that was the main reason. And this leads me to another comment for Matej, because you are having experiences from more worlds than just US and Europe. But when you were starting your business, and it's definitely niche to provide services for any group or social community, then you need to have understanding how it's how to serve the community and how it's perceived by the state and by the majority. Sometimes it's more vocal majority, sometimes it's more silent. And if I'm not mistaken, you took over the incubator in Slovakia, the Spot. And I remember when I was in Spot in a previous location in central Bratislava, I was the first ambassador to visit it, and many of the innovators were really shocked. Well, who is this guy? He's having a tie, and how he can help us. And at that time, it was I think it was 2012. I told them, well, I'm here to listen. So my comment is to you and to you, Matej, how to best organize these sort of exchanges of ideas, how the new businesses can operate, because many times I can see that you have bright ideas, you know the technologies, how to handle the paperwork for taxation, for registering the company, or to how to better access the loans from the banks and the banking institutions. So, what is your strategic foresight for startup nation of Europe or Slovakia? Where should we head? What are your lessons learned to make the environment better for smaller companies or starting companies like yours?
Thank you very much for the question. That's you know, in 2011, I was one of the co-founders of the Spot back then, and that was a very exciting time, and it was a pleasure having you back then in our space. And afterwards, we had many more ambassadors from different places coming in, so that was really good. And then the media got attention of it, and I believe a small startup revolution happened in Slovakia in the succeeding 5 years, and that was really good, an exciting time. Companies like Slido that we're using today, were created and were exited. Exponia was created and exited. There's a couple of other examples that are on the market. I would love to see more. But definitely the things that apply for the Slovak companies definitely apply for any startup in the world. Is try to be excellent, try to find a niche, don't try to boil the ocean with your idea. Make sure that you have, for a specific target group, a specific solution that makes sense. Validate it, be lean, don't burn too much money, talk to the right people, and be hungry, and always try to grow. And don't forget that Slovakia should be your launchpad, if ever, and not your end market, because it's too small. And that's precisely what we're doing in Vacuum Labs. That the first couple of years we did software engineering as a service, right? So we helped other companies to grow their businesses. But 4 years ago, we started creating our own spin-offs, which essentially is a fancy word of saying small startups within the company. And we created like the biggest Central European conference for techies or developers. Then we created a special law firm that actually helps startups to grow, and it's the fastest growing law firm in Central Europe right now, called Spotting. We created a different way to register trademarks. Instead of seven days, it takes now 15 minutes to do it fully automated, and it's again the fastest growing thing in the region in legal tech. We created a digital bank. Last year, we created a testing facility for COVID that we needed for ourselves, and now It's caters to 20% of Slovakia, and it does a lovely service there, which is half the price of everything else on the market, because we are not trying to bully the people to pay ridiculous prices. We just want to give a fair service, and I could go on. We acquired the spot as a business and put it within the ecosystem. I just say that once you have a small bubble or an ecosystem that works, and you have a lot of entrepreneurs, you have knowledge, you have people that done it before and succeeded in marketing and sales and technology, put them into an environment, a community, ideas bubble up, and they then attract more ideas, they attract capital, and you have the momentum just rolling. And it's important to find the thing where you can unite behind. That's the thing that, as Slovakia, we're lacking the identity of the IT sector, right? Like Estonia has an e-government, that's their spiel. Britain has fintech or banking, and that used to be their spiel, but now it's moving into Lithuania, which was a fantastic thing, because Lithuania is offering money banking licenses to companies around the world that can be passports within EU. I truly believe that Slovakia can also be a fintech important country, with fintech as the central place. That since we are a fintech company, we've seen and spoke to all the banks in the region, and again, Slovaks don't know how good they have it compared to a Wells Fargo or Bank of America, or even a Standard Chartered in Hong Kong, where we work with them. We are light years ahead in the service and the offerings. If I say to my American friends today that you call your bank and you are biometrically verified on your voice, whether or not you're that, that's like sci-fi for them. But for us, we've had it for 5 years in Slovakia, and these are just small examples, and that's why we created an NGO called Fintech Hub Slovakia. We're trying to attract companies like Revolut or Monzo or Chime from the States to actually come to Slovakia. We've worked with the National Bank of Slovakia. We have a memorandum signed to actually help those companies get the local license and then passport it into Czech Republic, Poland, Hungary, and Bulgaria, and expand from that. And that's just, that's my story, my spiel, that fintech is a good thing, and I actually believe it's a great thing for us. And we have the automotive sector, where we've been talking the last 20 years that's a great sector for us. We have cybersecurity with ESET, and there's 3, 4, 5 things that we can identify. And I'm just going to go back to my initial thought: if you're the only one you have to. And I think that applies to everything within Slovakia. That if you have the space, you have the will, you should bring in the people and make sure that you can create a snowball. Because once you create a snowball, it's hard to stop.
I love those comments, and I can definitely confirm, after being served through Slovak banks, exactly where your voice is recognized, coming to a New York bank where the carpet is older than you. You are definitely in for a cultural shock. But speaking of all these things, I think one of the elements that our ambassador was asking was as well, how can we connect how can we connect together on bringing ideas that you just mentioned forward? And when you were speaking about, for example, the testing, I do recall that one of the things when we were in discussions as well with the Slovak Global Network, that's one of the things that you're bringing to the summit that
Yes.
group of people is leading. And I think something like a vision for Slovakia, where it doesn't have to be automobile industry, which helped us and served us to move us forward and give a lot of people great employment. But is there another industry that we can bring in, which could be something like the fintech or tech industry, and really be more similar, so that it's not you fighting in your silo and others like you fighting on their own.
Kika, makes a lot of sense, right? So you can't have 15 focuses, because you have none. You need to have 1 or 2, up most 3 as a country to move forward, right? as you're right, the automotive sector, the FDIs served us lovely in the 90s and early 2000s, but now it's time to move on because that's been built on affordable labor, and that's not that affordable anymore. And now we need to find new ways. But for that, you need good education, and you need a good, skilled workforce that is actually in the knowledge ecosystem and in the knowledge economy. And we've done everything but supported our universities and our educational system the last 20 years. So that's something we definitely need to significantly improve if we want to have that. Alternatively, as Americans are moving to Slovakia, why not Ukrainians? Why not Belarusians? Cyprus has done a fantastic thing of actually opening up their borders for people from Ukraine, from Belarus, from Russia. They have thousands and thousands upon knowledge workers from those countries coming in, getting citizenships, getting visas. Why can't we do the same? There's nothing wrong. There's fantastic, educated, great people. They want to come in. And it's just natural that we have brain drain. It's always going to happen. It's natural. There are always going to be better countries as us. But there's a ton of countries that are worse than us that we can attract talent from, and or different, right? That we can attract talent from. We just need to be open and more receptive for that, and not be scared. And because otherwise, we're going to be at this moment that we can't really focus. We don't have enough people. Everybody's that's skilled, or most of them are outside of the country, and we're in this limbo of how to focus and what to find as the right focus for all of this. So yes, it is a challenging thing, and I believe we need to figure that out in the next 2 to 3 years. And so I'm a huge believer in a free market economy. So I'd rather have less subsidies from EU and from different places, but really to see what sticks and then double down on that and do it that way. Yeah.
I love that. And as you speak of brain drain, I think sometimes we focus too much on why are people leaving and they should not be leaving. And then we have all these pockets of people like New York professionals where you can find people with network sometimes bigger than what Slovak Republic could have on its own. We just need to be able to kind of connect to each other and rely on that brain gain, because that's what they gained. And as you rightly said, I think pandemic has allowed people to reevaluate their values and brings a lot of people, or attracts a lot of people to go back and be closer to family. So one of the questions from Slido, I'll try to now disrupt a little bit our beautiful conversation here and bring some of our Slido people to the conversation. A person was asking, what positions are you hiring for in New York, USA? You mentioned the MD for sales who fell in love with Bratislava.
So we have 3 different profiles that we're looking for within the States. The first one is the managing director for Americas, which means that a person not only looking over sales, mainly business development, but also looking at growing a local office. I would love to see a 5 to 10 person office there in the following months to 2 years to actually grow that I have an established space there. That's number one. Number two is we're looking for a representative in San Francisco in Silicon Valley to be there for business development as well. And then lastly, we look for founders. We look for people that are bored of their corporate jobs, that feel that they're entrepreneurs, they're doers, they actually want to build something, start something, but feel they miss the counterpart. Somebody has going to help them a little bit to actually build it properly, build it right. And we as an organization are, a founder-first organization. We bring founders in, we give around them everything that's necessary to actually build a startup and do it the right way. And our track record speaks for ourselves. So doesn't have to be Slovaks, could be international people and people with a more of an entrepreneurial, or if you will, entrepreneurial mindset. They want to build something cool.
That sounds really awesome. Are there as well any jobs that you think would be great for someone thinking coming back? So if I would think of going back, is there some place in Vacuum Labs where you think?
It's very simple. We have right now 57 open positions on the website. So if you go for vacuumlabs.com, there's a ton of them written down. And if not, like Vacuum Labs, like first couple of years, why Vacuum Labs? Why the name? It was because it was a goodschool.com domain that we bought. That there wasn't really much behind that. But now I really see the value of it is that we try to suck the best talent out of the market and just bring it into our ecosystem. And then we're going to figure out what we're going to build together, what we're going to do together. But if you're a smart person or an experienced one that wants to do something, come back to Slovakia, come to Czech Republic, come to you wherever call us, get in touch with us, and we're definitely going to figure something out.
Ma'am, this is an exciting thing for me to jump in. Mm-hmm. Matej, you just broke my heart because you said that the automotive industry is something which we have to sort of put into the history, and petrol is bad thing, and other things. I'm just joking, but I'm petrol head, and you will not find me a huge fan of buying a fancy electric car in the future.
No Tesla for you, right? Yeah.
No, I was driven in Tesla 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and it's a fabulous car. It's wonderful, but it lacks the smell of the petrol. But no, when talking about hiring people, this was my experience from the state sector, from the public sector as well, that people were looking for a specific education, specific specialization for skills. But that was 90s, early 2000s. The more, I don't want to say the more complicated market the labor market is, but the more complex things are around us, the more interdisciplinary, if not education, then mingling is important. So perhaps to show to our viewers and listeners the positions. I'm not asking what sort of positions you are looking at and you are opening, but apart from qualifications like energetic, open-minded, team building, a team working person with a strong work ethics, from the point of view of formal education, what is your preference, or what you would like to see as a perfect generic person? Is it a lawyer? Is it an engineer? Is it artist? So what it is, or where you think the education should look at? What are the skills which will be needed in, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 5 years?
That's a great question, Mr. Pastor, and that's something where we differ from a lot of companies. We couldn't care less about formal education. That's for us. That's something that other people look at, and to look at a person. What we say is, no, your past experiences are definitely a plus, but what we look at in a person is their critical thinking, is their ability to be fast in actually understanding a problem and do problem solving, and then be curious about the world and about the problems, and be extremely proactive. And of course, inclusive. That's for us a must. And if we have that there, then we can start talking about it. And these qualities can be found in many different roles. Like, right, software engineers, you don't necessarily need to study computer science for that. You could study physics or chemistry or mathematics to be a great engineer. Secondly, we have lawyers within the organization. We're also hiring lawyers and attorneys in the States. Forgot to mention that. So that's something that is definitely open as a position. But that's the second one. The third one is for business development. The VP of marketing, a great woman in our company, Miki. She doesn't have any formal education. She just finished high school, and now she's running a 40-person team within our organization and does international, marketing on a fantastic scale. So it's not about the formalities. It's more about the mindset and the willingness to learn on the job.
Perfect. I would like to, Matej, maybe pivot a little and give you a chance to explain. I think we touched on it from the side of Hong Kong, that was something that was mentioned, and I think you launched an online bank in Hong Kong, and as well you launched the first ever bank serving LGBT community in US, and I think you launched it actually during pandemic.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary. So would you like to share with us a little bit about these two projects, just to give background to people?
Sure.
They don't know.
Sure, absolutely. It's maybe important to mention that those two are part of 39 others that are currently undergoing within the organization. And those two are notable because we've created one of the fastest growing digital banks in Hong Kong with Standard Chartered as a partnership. And that's quite extraordinary that they believed in, or they wanted the European knowledge and the European experience that we brought in there, and under 12 months launched a product. And that was more as us being a vendor for them, whereas for Daylight, we were more a co-founder, and which is much more of a complicated and hard thing to do, right? We've put in our own capital, we've put in our own words and name into it. But it was also very exciting that what we learned in Europe and in Southeast Asia, which is a bit more advanced market than the States and banking, we could have translated that experience here in the United States. And also the experience of launching a product with people you've never met before in real life. You only met them in this small window, and talking to them was weird, was surreal, right? I think the team has never met in real life still to this day. They just parts of them met, but never all in one room, and they still can collaborate and do that, which I think is extraordinary. 15 years ago would not be able to happen in this space. So it tells you something. But the other things that we're excited about is for example, we've been part of a journey for a company called Rails Bank in the United Kingdom and Great Britain. That was something of what's called banking as a service, which is essentially a platform for which you can actually launch new banks on top of that. So you can spin new banks on top of a service like that. And we've been part of that journey for the first 3 years of them. Now the last round valued them over $500 million, and we've got in very early on, and we've seen success stories like this around us. So these are parts of the stories, and maybe just to bring it closer to people to Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic and Slovakia. In Czech Republic, there is a company called Twisto, which we've been working with for 5 years, and it's been a super successful small business for loans and lending, for which is called Buy Now Pay Later. And they just got acquired by an Australian company called Zip, and we've been working with them for a couple of years. And it's another success story of the startup ecosystem, where if something's in product, that half of the people are already Slovaks. So it's partially also a success story of the Slovak skill sets and the people there.
Perfect. I'll actually would love to as well bring forward some Slido questions, unless Mr. Ambassador, you would like to comment. So yes, no? Okay, I'll go with the Slido. Sure. And so one of the questions is as well, what projects are you, Matej, excited about for the next year? And what is ideal client that you or your vacuum labs will want to work for?
Definitely, and that those are, and we haven't even touched the exciting part of crypto, right? And blockchain and crypto, that is a super interesting place to be right now in. And it feels like if you touch anything in crypto, you just make a gazillion of dollars, which is not true. It's only written in paper. You need to be extremely careful what you do with Bitcoin and with all of that stuff. But it is, if you know what you're doing, it can be very exciting, and it can create a lot of actual real value for people. So, I'm excited about projects within crypto, within decentralized finance. There's a saying I love that people hate me for in Slovakia, is that as the separation of state and church should have happened a long time ago, now is the time to actually do separation of state and money with blockchain and Bitcoin, and that's something that's kind of definitely, it's already happening, and we just need to accept that fact and be thinking of how to live in this new world where money is more anonymous, is more disconnected from governments, and how to actually do that properly and correctly and according to law. So that's one part. the other part is banking and fintech. There's so much, like I've been saying that every single important improvement in the life of people have happened through money in the last 4,000 years. So the way how people are educated about money, access capital, and have abilities to grow with money has a significant impact on the life of people. So if we can make it easier, cheaper, and more accessible and more flatter across the board for people to access capital, that's what we want to do. And lastly, it's legal tech, and legal is there's a revolution that needs to happen in law and the legal space. And I believe that with Spotting, our legal firm within the portfolio, we've been spearheading some of the legal tech transformations, and things that are expensive should not be expensive, and things that are complex should not be complex, and things that are written in words that people don't understand should be explained easily. And that's something that technology can again help with. So those are the three areas. I don't want to go into much detail there, but as I can spend hours on it, but these are the things that excite me every single day. Yeah.
Right. Sorry to jump in.
Sure.
But just to say, months before the apostolic visit of Pope to Slovakia, and say something about separation of state and church, that's a brave thing.
Yeah,
I'm not saying more than saying it's brave, but the first part, the separation of state and money. Does this mean that you are convinced that there is not enough of liquidity, of money and capital and other financial resources available for new businesses like yours from the state or from the formal or from the public sphere? Why I'm asking, and you touched upon it a little bit at the beginning, that it's just also a matter of the regulation and money which is poured into industry and whatever part of the industry. But there is a lot of European money, the cohesion funds coming in. There is a new plan for reconstruction and resilience, which is also supported by the European Union. So it looks like there is enough of money. But do you imply that the money is not in the best place to be extracted for companies like yours?
That's a great question, and I've been repeating this many times on this call, which makes me happy. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of money that comes from government, especially from VC and seed funds within the region. The new gazillion dollars or euros they're going to come in with the New Deal is going to pour in. And I'm scared about that. I'm scared how the landscape's going to change. If you're pouring so much money into the space, what is it going to, does it mean that companies like mine that are doing fine, we don't need that money, will actually need to scramble for it? Because if we don't take it, somebody's going to get ahead of us, even though, we have a more superior product than them, right? Those are questions that come in mind with the subsidies and the supports that, for me, it's something more of a detriment that this is actually happening, that we need to be focusing on stuff that they're saying that we need to look at rather than what we believe is the right thing. That's one. And the other thing is that I believe that blockchain and Bitcoin are not only means to create wealth for people, but is also, it can make, it changes the mechanism of how money or capital is being deployed, right? Instead of having a central bank that says, this is the way we're going to deploy capital, and this is the way how we're going to print more money, in blockchain or crypto, there are contracts and algorithms and mechanisms that are sometimes more democratic, more predictable, more transparent than a central bank would be. And that's what I think is for me, as I've studied physics and computer science, I'm always excited about stuff that is transparent, open, and more predictable with algorithms. And that's why I believe that it's an interesting space to explore. And since more and more governments are accepting it and not banning it. I believe that it's here to stay, and we just need to find a way to collaborate and to find a good way how to work. We thought in 2010 that social media is going to be amazing. Now we know it's not that amazing, and now we need to figure out how cryptocurrencies are going to be actually used for good, not for good and mostly bad.
This is a great comment. So the only thing I'm a little bit scared of is whether the regulations of the blockchain and crypto will be up to the challenges and the needs what you are describing. So that's only my short comment. That I'm a little bit scared that the state bureaucracy and regulation may be lagging behind a little bit.
There's definitely, we need to, like, especially in Slovakia, we need to improve the way we're regulating blockchain and to make it up to date, and how we're treating crypto, because it's even for the taxation reasons, it just doesn't make sense for people in Slovakia to do it properly and cleanly.
Very nice conversation here. So I would maybe start to wrap up, because we're at the top of the hour. But there is one more question I definitely wanted to make sure we hear from the Slido team, from everybody on Slido, and as well tell people that we will be asking you for feedback on Slido. So let us know what you liked about this session, what you would like to hear more. So you have a chance to do that when you go to slido.com/SlovakSharks. But the question I wanted to ask is an advice for Slovaks living in the US and still being fans of Slovakia, and especially of startups and the teams that are really building something of value. How can people from America invest in startups? Is there a way, is there a short answer or not?
Definitely, like, email me, right, and get in touch, and I'm happy to connect you with interesting opportunities, or maybe even funds or angel networks in the region that can be of value and that can give you the right deal flow. So happy to help there. Absolutely, yeah.
And so part of me wrapping up, I would definitely want to give a chance to Matej to really give a message to the audience, which is primarily Slovak professionals living in New York, but as well, and especially during pandemic, living all over the world, all over the states. So is there a message that you would like to share with us? Maybe let me help you, like how you perceive that community, what are their strengths that maybe we don't understand we have, and as well, how can we be helpful to vacuum labs? So
it's not only about vacuum labs, right? It's about the ecosystem at large, and it goes back to like if we're creating a small hobbit place of Slovakia is a great place. How can we, all the diaspora, international people out of Slovakia, can support our country, and not necessarily maybe coming back, but also supporting as we can, right? Investing in Slovak companies, fantastic. Giving knowledge and supporting and being a mentor for entrepreneurs, for professionals in Slovakia, absolutely. Donating to NGOs working in the space, great. There's many things that you can definitely do. If you are excited about the career change and you want to work with a Slovak company, I believe we could be a decent option to explore and to work with. Alternatively, if you want to start something, I'm happy to connect you with an ecosystem in Slovakia of people that would be excited to build other stuff and build businesses. And I would just want to say and close the discussion that I'm impressed that Mr. Ambassador has found the time to actually talk to a entrepreneur out of Slovakia and to discuss this and open this platform. I want to thank him for his time, and also Kika for organizing all of this, because it's impressive that you're doing this, and you're trying to build a bridge between the things that we are doing, within Slovakia. And even though we have connections to the States, it's different connection than what you have. And it's great to always be connected and to be within an ecosystem like this.
If I may have one short response, and that will be the last word from me today. The Slovak sharks are lean and are hungry.
I love that statement. And so definitely, I think the idea for fireside chat, Matej, if we love being transparent, I will be transparent. It came on the coffee I had in your beautiful office in the Zaha Hadid building. And Matej does perfect coffee, especially if you come from the US and you're hungry after coffee in a real cup. I can recommend. So thanks for giving us such an idea. And Mr. Ambassador, I do have to say thank you, because I know this came like a wild idea, and I'm happy we went with it and you went with it and joined our forces. You know, sometimes we are holding the best secrets on either if it's the talent that we have as Slovaks in US or the talent that sits in Slovakia and just doesn't make it to headlines because of all the horrible things that are happening. And so people sometimes don't know how much engaged our community is with the embassy and how much help we are receiving. So I think this is a great way to say thank you, Mr. Ambassador, and thank you, Matej.
Thank you.
My pleasure.